social media algorithms. If you clicked on this video, you probably already have an idea of how they work, why they're bad, but maybe you don't know everything. There's a lot more to algorithms than just recommending content. Platforms design their interfaces to make it difficult to turn off, and when you do, they find ways to reel you right back in. For many free social media apps like Instagram and Twitter, advertisements are by far their #1 revenue stream. And so, the longer users spend time on their platform, the more opportunity for revenue. It's worth it for them to fight for every second of engagement from their users, even at the cost of their well-being. The first technique is something that all of you are probably familiar with: personalized content. Personalized content refers to the collection of media that reflects what the apps believe you, the user, will most likely want to see. The more accurate a platform is able to pinpoint their users' interests, the more likely they'll spend more time on the app, use it again in the future, or even share it with their friends. Some platforms allow you to state your interest right when you sign up. Others will analyze your behavior, interactions, and engagement patterns and cater your content accordingly. Regardless, this algorithm is the crux of any social media platform, its lifeline, its foundation. Data collection becomes a key component in building this algorithm because the more they know about the users, the more they can cater their content. But at what point does it become unethical? There are a lot of dark design patterns that violate privacy, and many social media apps are a lot more invasive than you might think. Contacts, activity, location, biometrics, search history, network connections. These are a handful of the many things that are collected by default just for using these apps. You may think of it as a plus to always have your media cater to your interests, but there is a risk when one algorithm has complete control of every piece of your content. It becomes extremely easy for recommendations to be biased and limited to your preferences, narrowing the variety of information in what we call a filter bubble. This term was coined by internet activist Eli Pariser, referring to the scenario where one's personalized content mainly consists of information that aligns with their existing views, creating a limited bubble of content. The community that you expose yourself to by consuming this content can also become an echo chamber that will reinforce these beliefs. Back when the COVID-19 pandemic was still at its peak, Facebook was heavily scrutinized for its role in spreading misinformation related to the virus and vaccines. The platform faced many accusations of allowing false claims to circulate, even from known pseudo-medical and anti-vaccine groups. And for their users, all it takes is one bit of engagement on a misinformed video to amplify the algorithm to rope them into an anti-vax filter bubble. What Facebook needed was a reliable fact-checking program to verify information before it would be recommended to users, although quite overdue, eventually did happen. Another deliberate UI design that people should be aware of is infinite scrolling. All the top social media platforms employ this type of design, and there's a reason for that. Allowing users to endlessly scroll through their feed, while intentionally minimizing any sort of clocks or timestamps, heavily skews their perception of time. People end up spending a lot more time on their phones because of this sense of timelessness. The same logic can be applied to video autoplay. Having users take steps to stop videos from playing rather than taking the step to play another video is a win-win design. And of course, it's turned on by default. Think about time passing in a classroom. By the middle of the semester, you'll have a much easier time estimating when the class is maybe halfway done. Often partake in family-style eating. You're much more likely to overeat with several communal dishes in front of you compared to a singular portion plate of food. What I want to shine light on is that there are many psychological reasons why our brains behave the way they do, and that many companies have designed their platforms to take advantage of these behaviors for their benefit. When was the last time you saw an app with pagination? Other than Google, of course, but even Google switched to infinite scrolling in 2023. Now, companies have found a way to keep us using their apps longer, but when we do eventually leave, how do they bring us back? Ah, the signature red bubble. When you see it, you can't help but think, who messaged me? Did someone comment on my photo? Why do I feel a sense of urgency? The color red is deliberately picked because it naturally draws attention. Red is a high contrasting color, making it easily distinguishable against many backgrounds. In our society, we also associate red to a higher level of importance. Stop signs, alerts, emergency signs are things we often encounter day to day, and utilize red to convey a sense of immediate action. Companies would even go out of their way to fully redesign their logos, aiming to better capture their users' attention when scrolling through their home screen. color psychology became a really large focus for designers and marketers seeking to influence user behavior. Every visual change had a purpose. Push notifications also leverage principles of Pavlovian conditioning to get users to open their apps. If you aren't familiar with what this is, in a nutshell, a Russian psychologist named Ivan Pavlov discovered that dogs could be trained to associate the sound of a bell with the arrival of food, and would eventually salivate at the sound of the bell alone. When comparing in parallel with push notifications, this design aims to condition users to associate notifications as some sort of valuable information or a dopamine hit. This naturally prompts the users to trigger some sort of immediate action like checking their phone or opening the app. Pavlov also discovered that adding some sort of unpredictability strengthens this sort of conditioning even further. You may have noticed that platforms deliver information, for example, breaking news, updates, personalized content, and an irregular pattern. Let's say you're subscribed to a goodie bag delivery service that comes to your door every day filled with your favorite snacks. But every once in a while, the snacks in the bag would be replaced with some less desirable options. You'll begin to have a sense of anticipation, and every time you open the bag, it will be that much more exciting. In the last decade, it has become ever more apparent that more and more people have accepted a perpetual quest for social validation. Likes, comments, and shares trigger a dopamine boost, which, although may seem harmless, can cause a whole web of problems that often fly under the radar. The most alarming problem is digital addiction. When an individual's source of social validation predominantly comes from social media platforms, they may become overly reliant and find it difficult to get it from other means. This excessive reliance is not healthy and can often contribute to a wide range of mental health issues. To be honest, I think we're at a point now where we can assume that every adult we come across owns a smartphone. The rise in mental health disorders, especially among young adults, have also been increasing at an alarming rate. Although we can see some correlation between the decline in mental health and the usage of smartphones, there are far too many factors to narrow down to just social media. But that doesn't mean we can dismiss the impact that social media plays in worsening these mental health issues. With the path that we're going down now, we need to start raising questions about the responsibility of companies to design their platforms with more ethical considerations in mind instead of just profit. In June 2022, TikTok rolled out in-app prompts to encourage users to take breaks from the endless scrolling. Having a positive relationship with digital devices and apps isn't just about measuring screen time. It's also about feeling in control of how we use technology and ensuring that the time we spend online contributes positively to our sense of well-being. Although this is a step in the right direction, it is still a feature that is unsurprisingly turned off by default, but nonetheless, does signal a recognition within the industry of the need to prioritize their users' well-being, which is a good thing. The purpose of this video isn't to tell you to quit social media altogether. I know there's always a trend of dopamine detox videos that rave about how much their life changed for the better without it. But for a lot of us, that isn't really an option. Whether we like it or not, social media plays a large role in today's society, and instead of tossing it away, what we can do is become more aware of how our minds work among these money-hungry tech conglomerates and try to work towards a healthy relationship with social media.